Today's video, it's all about a furnace mentioned in the Bible and has some extravagant claims made about it, and we'll see if they are fact or fiction. The first thing I've got to do is to establish a very clear definition of what a furnace actually is. It is an enclosed structure to minimise heat loss, but also it has a door so you can recharge the fuel and other things to the furnace. And when you read in verse 26, it actually says that Nebuchadnezzar went up to the door. This is the starting point for what a wood fire, what you see on the screen, can get up to. With a nice strong breeze blowing, you could probably get up to 750 degrees Celsius, but you're losing a lot of heat because it's not contained. So if you add walls and a roof to the furnace, and because in those days they never had a blower or electricity, they could have built a chimney 10 to 15 metres high, and it would produce a strong draft, and it would get up to double that temperature. So it would probably get up to about 1,500 degrees Celsius. So now we've got the maximum temperature for the Bible furnace, 1,500 degrees Celsius. Simple matter to multiply it by 7, and that comes to an amazing 10,500 degrees Celsius. Now what the problem is, in real life, if you want to increase this furnace temperature, there's two ways to do it. You can use oxygen, inject pure oxygen into the furnace, or you can preheat the incoming air coming into the furnace, which will raise the temperature. But none of those things will actually get up to twice the temperature, not even 7 times. In verse 19, it says the furnace was to be heated 7 times hotter than usual. So how did they know that the furnace was actually running hotter than usual, let alone 7 times hotter? The short answer is they are guessing, because high temperature measurement and doing it accurately is only a relatively recent achievement. This is what will happen if you have a furnace that runs 7 times hotter than normal. What will happen is the refractory will melt. It won't withstand that kind of heat, and there is no refractory in the world that will withstand that kind of temperature. It will just collapse on itself and the furnace will stop operating. Another thing that will happen if a furnace is heated up 7 times hotter than usual is it will become so bright that you cannot see what's happening inside that furnace. But also it will permanently damage your eyesight. So in verse 25 it says Nebuchadnezzar went and had a look inside the furnace, and he could see 4 men having a leisurely stroll in that furnace. Well, it's just not going to happen. So here is a very obvious contradiction between verse 22 and verse 26. The soldiers went up to the door of the furnace to throw the 3 men in, and what happened? They got burnt up and they died. But then we go to verse 26. Nebuchadnezzar went up to the door of that furnace to have a look inside, and he never got burnt at all. To me, that shows it's a very obvious contradiction. You can't have both. To those viewers who have never experienced the furnace up close, here's an interesting experiment you can do. Get an incandescent light globe and switch it on, and put your hands close to the glass, and you will feel that that glass is really hot. And why that is so is because the filament is glowing, and it also is at a very high temperature. It is between 2,000 and 3,000 degrees Celsius. So that filament is about the size of a human hair, but it generates that much heat with the glass envelope surrounding that filament. It gets really hot. So my point is, if you have a furnace that is so large that 4 men can have a leisurely stroll in it, and it's running at around 3000 degrees Celsius, there is no way known that you will be able to get close to that furnace. Here is my first favourite answer on how to get a furnace to run 7 times hotter than usual. They say it's just a simple matter. All you have to do is add 7 times the amount of fuel to the furnace. The only problem with that is a furnace has a set volume. You cannot physically put 7 times the amount of fuel in that furnace. But what I suggested originally, if they had a chimney, you could fill that chimney up to the top with 7 times the amount of fuel. If the furnace will run, you will only get the furnace to run 7 times longer, not hotter. Here is answer number 2. The Bible says that furnace was to be heated 7 times hotter. But their answer is that does not mean that furnace actually reached that temperature. So if we go down to verse 25, it says that Nebuchadnezzar saw 4 men having a leisurely stroll inside that furnace. So we can use that example and say, well, just because the Bible said he saw those people walking around in that furnace, that does not mean it actually happened. And I would agree with that, because who could survive walking inside a furnace? So here is a challenge for all you Bible believers. Build a furnace and see if you can get it to run 7 times hotter. And then you can prove that the Bible is true. It's all fact and no fiction. But if you can't, then the Bible is all fiction.